How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully everyone is having a lovely day. So Joey Votto, bit of a surreal moment here with the Cincinnati Reds. Reds playing their last home game of the season. Joey Votto more than likely playing his last home game in a Cincinnati Reds uniform. The Cincinnati Reds fan base gives this guy a standing ovation to kind of, show the appreciation for what Joey Votto has done for this franchise in his 17-year career, all spent with the Cincinnati Reds. It's a tough moment to watch, to say the very least. Been a fan of really been a favorite player, Joey Votto, almost since he walked in the door of this building. And to think 17 years later, you see this guy walk off the field still in a Cincinnati Reds uniform, and just watching his reaction. You watch that video over and watch his reaction to the crowd, to the ovation he got there, the chance to kind of walk off away from the plate for a second, take it all in. You can see Votto just about getting emotional out there, really trying to hold it back. And I think we all know Joey Votto really well at this point in time in his career. This is a guy that started out as a really, introverted to himself kind of person. If you wasn't in the fan base, you could take it the wrong way, like it was stuck up or the way he acted to other fans. But really, it was just, that was the kind of person he was. He was a to himself person. He was a very perfectionist kind of person. And over the years, you just watched him slowly open up and become more of this leader and more of this quirky person that he truly is, interacting with the fans, the other opponents' fans, playing around in the dugout in the field, if you will. And it was a beautiful thing to see that you watched Votto evolve over the years. It was something you wanted to see as a Reds fan, just knowing even now it's like, oh, he's batting 200 this year. It's like, whatever. This is a locker room full of young players, and you got a guy that has a good chance of being a Hall of Famer that can spread knowledge around this locker room, show him what it's like to be a leader, show him how to loosen up, show him how to take your approach to the way. There's so much knowledge this guy can bring to the locker room, and so much knowledge he probably has brought to this team. And you sit and think, hopefully, there's a place for this guy somewhere. I'm coaching, assistant, whatever it is one day, because you want to see this. I personally want to see him stay around. A little bit biased, but nonetheless, 17 years for this guy. 295 career batting average. What do you have? 2,135 hits, 356 home runs, a career 409 on base percentage. If there's a reason, a lot of people say, is there a reason he gets into the Hall? It is the fact that he was one of the best to ever do it as far as getting on base is concerned. I mean, to think this guy led the league in on base percentage 7 times, to think this guy made a living getting on base, and then to remember after that, first 3-4 seasons, if you will, and maybe not even that, there's only a couple where he wasn't this dominant power hitter. He was a plus power hitter, but he was just really good at making contact. He was at one point in time, he was one of the best in the league at getting doubles, getting on base. And that says so much because, you look at the Bonzes or the, I don't want to say Pulisic, the Miggies, guys like that. It's like they were getting a lot of intentional walks. They're getting a lot of pitch arounds just because of the respect for the power. Teams pitch them differently because of the power. But Votto didn't bring that power element as much. So he did have to work to get on base a little bit harder than the rest of these guys. And I think, again, it's just a testament to how disciplined this guy was at the plate, how good he was at working counts, finding a way to get on base. And because at the end of the day, hey, that's baseball. That's your job. Get on base. And he was one of the best to ever do it. Anyway, he won an MVP, finished in the finals a couple of times. He was a 6-time All-Star. He won a Gold Glove at first base. And all of that considered, this is a guy that won an MVP early in his career, 2010. And it was a year. Think of how low, it's not the same now, and that's, we see the rotation happen from position to position, but this was a year, and this was Votto back in the day, opening eyes when it was Prince Fielder, Albert Pujols, Ryan Howard, Paul Konerko, Adrian Gonzalez, Miguel Cabrera, Pujols, that we mentioned. The list goes on of how many, the list goes on of how many elite first basemen there were in this league. And Joey Votto stood out amongst all of those guys. He stood out amongst all the players in the league. To think of how impressive this man was as a young player. He batted .322 his first full season in the league. And he didn't even make the All-Star team. Because that's how loaded the first base position was. That's how many talented players there was. And it's to think the guy did that. And you wonder what happens like now. You wonder what happens if it was now compared to the first. It doesn't matter. It's the past. But just, comparison's sake, they're kind of put some weight on his accolades, especially back in the past when he was at his best in his prime. But I mean, heck, it was even, what was it, 3 years ago now with the Castellanos to win, because this guy dropped 36 bombs and just tore it up, carried the team there for about a month or two, 8 straight games of the home run. I mean, even late in this man's career, he was finding those spells. Unfortunately, you get later in the career, 39, 40, you kind of expect that decline. Just about everybody does it. You throw the injuries on there, they're mounting up for him as well, and that makes it more difficult. But you try not to think about that. You try not to think about that and try to remember, no matter what has happened this year, what happened last year, this has been a guy that brought so much success, so much joy, so much professionalism to this team. I mean, just remember, this is, again, 17 years. Reds ain't been no contender for 17 years. Ain't been anywhere close to a contender 17 years. He's always been professional about it. He's always come to the ballpark with a positive attitude. He's dealt with a lot in his career. And to think he's always come to Cincinnati, he's always been grateful for his time here. We've never heard any bad rumors, nothing of those manners. Came in, showed up, played baseball, did the best he could, and went home. That's the best you can ask for out of a guy. A true leader, if you will, in that regard. And again, just an absolute joy to watch. And it's crazy because, again, I think you see Votto get it. We've seen Votto get emotional at the plate in that last one because, knowing who this guy is as a person, he didn't want it. I don't think. I think he didn't expect it. He didn't go around and say, I'm retired this year. He didn't do what a lot of guys do, which, hey, nothing wrong with it. I think it's cool, especially for the greats to go out there and say, hey, I'm retiring this year, and then they get that kind of farewell tour, go to different ballparks. They sort of looking for here. Praise. It ain't praise. They commemorate you one last time that, for your time in the league. And Votto didn't do that. And I think, sure, he might want to play next season. He could go on a cheap contract for the Reds next season. He might go somewhere else for one season. But it was also just knowing the type of person he is, a very humble person. It's like, I don't need this showcase. I don't want it. And you get to that last game of the season, and the Reds fan base kind of gives it to him, and you see him kind of take it all in. It's really surreal. Nonetheless, nothing but good times for Joey Votto in his Cincinnati Reds uniform. More than appreciative of it. And I hope for nothing but the best as this man takes on a professional career in driving a school bus. Nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.